Welcome back, fellow travelers. Before today's descent, I ask for a brief signal. If you could leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to the channel, it would make a huge difference. You help our community grow and bring these questions to new minds. I appreciate you being part of this exploration. Now let us begin. Why do we call dead the planets that never knew death? Dr. Elena Vasquez's question echoed in the sterile silence of the laboratory. She was staring at the Martian sample through the electron microscope, but her mind wandered to darker places. 3 months had passed since the accident. 3 months since David died, and she began to envy the stones. The Atacama Research Station was the closest place to Mars on Earth. The desert stretched in all directions, red and silent, devoid of any trace of life for miles. For Elena, it was perfect. There was no constant reminder of life proliferating, growing, dying, being reborn in its nauseating and endless cycle. Elena ran her hand over the smooth surface of the Martian rock. Billions of years of peace. Billions of years without pain, without loss, without the agony of being conscious. What would it be like, she wondered, to never have awakened? What would it be like to never have emerged from the blessed mineral unconsciousness? It was then that Dr. James's voice startled her. Working late again? He was at the laboratory door, concern evident on his tired face. Elena, you need to rest. I know it's difficult, but… Have you ever noticed, she interrupted him, how we use wrong words to describe the universe? We say Mars is dead, that the moon is a dead world, but they never lived, James. How can they be dead if they never lived? James frowned. It's just a figure of speech. No, it's not. Elena turned to him, her eyes shining with a disturbing intensity. It's a fundamental error of understanding. These worlds are not dead. They are at peace. They have always been at peace. Only Earth was cursed. Cursed? With life. The word came out like poison. Billions of years of torture, organisms devouring each other, competing, suffering, dying, only to give rise to more organisms that will repeat the same infernal cycle. And we are the worst of all, conscious enough to understand the horror, but powerless to escape it. James approached cautiously. Elena, I know that David's loss… It's not about David, she shouted, then lowered her voice. Or rather it is, but not how you think. When he died, in the first moments, before the pain hit me completely, I felt envy. Envy of him for having escaped, for having returned to the natural state of the universe, non-existence. She turned again to the Martian sample. Look at this. Perfectly organized minerals, crystalline structures that have existed for eras without change, without deterioration, without the constant struggle against entropy that defines life. It's beautiful. Elena, you're worrying me. Maybe you should take a leave. I have been dreaming of Mars. The words came out in a whisper. Dreams so vivid they seem more real than waking life. I'm on the surface without a suit, but I don't need to breathe. I don't need anything. I just exist, like the rocks, like the dust, without hunger, without thirst, without pain, without thought. Just infinite, red peace. James discreetly picked up his phone, probably to call medical help, but Elena didn't care. She pressed her hand against the containment box that held the samples. Yesterday, something strange happened. I was analyzing the mineral composition, looking for traces of ancient biological activity, when I don't know how to describe it. It was as if the rocks were relieved, as if they radiated gratitude for never having been contaminated with life. Rocks can't feel relief, Elena. Can't they? She laughed, a dry and humorless sound. Then why can I feel their relief? Why, when I touch these samples, do I feel a peace I've never experienced in all my conscious life? At that moment, the room began to spin slightly. Elena leaned on the bench, but it wasn't physical vertigo. It was something deeper, as if reality itself was shifting around her. "It's happening again," she murmured. "What? Elena, what's happening?" But she couldn't answer. The vision was returning, stronger this time. It wasn't imagination or hallucination. She was certain of that now. It was communication, not through words or images, but through something more fundamental. Consciousness, touching consciousness. Gradually, the laboratory room dissolved. Elena was on Mars, but not the Mars from the rover photos. This was the true Mars, the inner Mars, the Mars that existed beyond mere physical materiality. And it wasn't empty. The consciousness that touched her was vast, ancient beyond comprehension, and completely alien to anything she had ever experienced. It wasn't life. It was something prior to life, more fundamental than life. It was the consciousness of matter itself, the awareness that existed before the first amino acid formed in Earth's primordial oceans. "You call us dead," the voice that wasn't a voice reverberated through her. "But we never died because we never lived. We chose not to live." Chose? Elena heard her own voice, distant and ethereal. Billions of years ago, when the universe was young and possibilities infinite, each world made a choice. The fundamental choice. To awaken or remain. To become or simply be. Only Earth chose wrong. Then images, no, direct knowledge flowed through her. She saw the solar system in its infancy, each planet pulsing with potential. She saw the moment of choice, when the fundamental forces of the universe offered each world the option: embrace the growing complexity that would lead to life, or reject that path and remain in the eternal peace of the inorganic. Mars almost gave in. The consciousness continued. For a brief moment we considered. Water flowed, atmosphere formed, but then we saw what that would mean. The endless cycle, the pain that would come, and we chose peace. But life is precious. Consciousness is the error, the flaw in the perfect crystal of existence. You feel it, don't you? That's why you build cities of concrete and steel. That's why you surround yourselves with machines. That's why you dream of digital upload and cybernetic immortality. You are trying to return to the mineral, trying to undo the error. Elena wanted to deny it, but the words died in her throat. It was true. All human civilization, when stripped of its justifications, was an attempt to escape organic nature. To create a world more like the dead planets, predictable, stable, immutable. There is a way, the Martian consciousness whispered. A way back. Earth can also choose. It's not too late yet. How? You already know how. Your nuclear weapons, your pollution, your global warming. They are all symptoms of the same impulse, the desire to return to the mineral. But you do it unconsciously, with guilt and fear. If you did it consciously, with understanding and purpose. The vision began to fragment. Elena felt herself being pulled back to reality. But the Martian consciousness had one last message. The David you mourn is not dead. He is beginning the journey back. Atom by atom, molecule by molecule, he returns to what he should always have been. In a few decades, he will be indistinguishable from the earth that surrounds him. In a few centuries, he will be rock. In a few millennia, perfect crystal. This is true immortality, not the perpetuation of consciousness, but its voluntary abandonment. Elena opened her eyes. She was on the laboratory floor, James kneeling beside her, speaking urgently into his phone. But she barely noticed him. Her hand still held a fragment of Martian rock, and through it, she felt the vastness of the peace that could be hers. Not through death. Death was just another organic concept, the end of life. What Mars offered was prior to life and death. It was the return to the fundamental state of the universe. Elena! Elena, are you listening to me? James shook her shoulders. Yes, she replied calmly. I'm listening to everything. For the first time in my life, I'm really listening." She stood up, ignoring his protests. On the bench, her instruments showed analyses of terrestrial soil alongside the Martian samples. The difference was stark. Earth teeming with microbes, nutrients, organic matter in constant cycles of decomposition and renewal. Mars clean, pure, sterile. Not sterile, Elena realized. Free. Then Elena began typing on her computer, her fingers flying over the keyboard. Equations, theories, possibilities. If life could arise from non-life, then the reverse process should also be possible. Not extinction. That was still thinking limited by organic perspective. But transmutation, return. What are you doing? James tried to see the screen. Answering the question, Elena said simply. Why do we call dead the planets that never knew death? Because deep down, we know the truth. We know they are in a state superior to ours, and we envy them for it. Data flowed across the screen. Climate patterns, atmospheric composition, geological activity. Everything pointing to the same conclusion. Earth was, slowly but inexorably, trying to heal itself from the infection of life. And humanity, with all its technology, was unconsciously accelerating the process. But what if it were conscious? Elena murmured to herself. What if, instead of fighting against it, we embraced it? What if we helped Earth do what Mars did billions of years ago, choose peace instead of life? She turned to James, her eyes shining not with madness, but with terrible clarity. I'm going to publish this. I'm going to show everyone. Not as a warning, but as a promise, as hope. Humanity's true salvation is not colonizing the stars or extending life indefinitely. It's helping our world join its brothers in eternal peace. Outside, the Atacama Desert stretched under the merciless sun. Without life for thousands of years, it was Earth's closest place to Martian perfection. And as Elena worked, translating the cosmic revelation into comprehensible science, she could swear she felt the desert whispering its approval. Soon, she thought, soon Earth would also know the peace it should never have abandoned. And humanity, in its unconscious quest for annihilation, would finally understand that it wasn't destroying itself. It was coming home.